I thought I would go with a cold open today because in your last video you started talking about some pretty serious things, and uh, for my Tuesday video I had written a pretty lengthy script about other serious topics, and the first thing in my head was, is this actually what I want to do my vlog on? And in some ways, no, it's not really what I wanted to do my vlog on, but in other ways, yes, because I want to be able to speak about things that are important to me and that I actually genuinely care about. But in other ways, I don't have all of the knowledge for all of the situations that I see, and I'm thinking, wait, that's not right. But the internet is a place where we can share ideas and we can share belief, but I don't want to say that anything that I talk about is law or anything like that. I really hope people do research on their areas of interest so that they can do their best to become experts in any field that they want. But since you were talking about serious topics, I guess I can too. The reason I actually asked you the question about what your favorite elective was in college was because I actually really wanted to talk about my favorite elective. It was basically because of the fire at the cathedral at Notre Dame. But my favorite elective in college was an art history class that I took at Penn State. We learned things from like the beginning of recorded history. I want to say one of the first things that we covered was the Lascaux caves, which, if you don't know, are caves in France that were founded by children, I believe, and there's a story with a dog. I don't know, Google it, you'll find out. But in these caves, there's uh, these hand-drawn pictures from over 20,000 years ago of bulls, cattle, other animals, including like bears and rhinoceroses, and then humans as well. One thing that was funny, you remember in elementary school when we used to draw those like trace your hand kind of drawings? Well, 20,000 years ago, humans were doing something similar. They put their hand up on a wall and then would blow pigment covering their hand, and then when you moved your hand, you would still have like the outline of your hand. We also learned about these um, statues. I think they were called the Venus statues. They were like overly exaggerated carvings of the female and in some cases male figure with just massive um, like breasts and hips and nether regions, and like all of this stuff was from like 20,000 years ago. It's crazy. But the course covered like architecture, also like paintings and sculpture from Rome, Germany, England, Spain. It's just a bunch of things that I found really interesting. And honestly, going into the course, I was like, I just have to check this history box. One of the things that really stood out to me was something I'd never really thought of before. High school and elementary school, everything was very Eurocentric in that everything happened in Europe. Where in this course, I learned more about Middle Eastern culture, specifically the Assyrian culture. And there was a lot of sculptures near Mosul. A lot of the carvings or reliefs were of a king like shooting a bow and arrow at lions, a chariot. There's a relief of a winged genie, which was an Assyrian god, similar to the king in terms of like face and headgear, but it had wings. And then there was these large statues of lion-bodied. I think they were like five-legged lion bull hybrids with wings, but like the torso of a man. They were called Lamassu. There's also all of this evidence of architecture from, I believe, the 8th century BCE, like in places like Palmyra, Hatra, and other places over by Mosul. But I say were because in late 2014, early 2015, a lot of those things that I mentioned were actually destroyed by ISIL rebels. Um, I remember seeing a video in 2015 of some guy taking like a jackhammer to one of the Lamassu, and it was like maybe a year earlier I was learning about them in college. it's like the people who come after me are not only going to be learning about kind of what they meant and how these things were able to stay around for almost 3,000 years, but they're also going to learn of their destruction. And it's difficult thinking back and being like, oh yeah, when I was learning about that, that was still there. And now, due to cultural destruction, um, those items are never going to be seen again. And no, it's not that you have no feelings, or we're all just like adults now, so we can accept that horrible things happen in the world. I guess you can't let it get to you, because there's still tomorrow, and we have to do better for the people who come after us. All in all, statistically, we're in the safest period of human existence. Like, we don't have to hunt down animals for food. There's not really death by plague, at least not in the United States. Most of those horrible diseases from antiquity are almost completely eradicated. I mean, for the majority, life expectancy is up. I mean, that's pretty dope. I digress. There must be a car pulled over outside my apartment. Let's look. Yeah, look at that. So the only thing I can see right now is the flashing lights from those two police cars right there. I'm sure you couldn't see it on video, but it was really obnoxious. There was actually an accident outside my apartment today. Earlier this afternoon, a car merged onto the highway right over here and hit a motorcycle, and the motorcycle flipped over, burst into flames, and was on fire for a solid like 20 minutes or so, until the fire department showed up and was able to put out the fire. But it was super surreal. I don't think anyone was hurt, because I saw the ambulance pull up and it never left. So I think that's a good sign for the guy. He wasn't in too much trouble. But the funny thing was, when they put the motorcycle on a flatbed to haul it away, it actually caught on fire again. So the fire department had to stay and put the motorcycle out while it was sitting on the back of some guy's flatbed truck. I'm sure that guy was not very happy about the fire that was going on back there. And I'm sad you didn't really enjoy your college choir. It doesn't seem very awesome. Our high school choir was great. Sounds like you like rocks. That's cool, I guess. But you asked about dinosaurs, and I'll get to my favorite in a minute, but I watched a great video the other day on YouTube when I was trying to go to sleep, and instead stayed up until 3 o'clock watching YouTube videos about dinosaurs online. It was about these two paleontologists, and they were like probably the first people like actively going out and trying to find dinosaur fossils, and they would actually like blow up areas so that people who came after them wouldn't be able to find anything in that area, which was, the rivalry between them was crazy, and like they were the ones responsible for naming a lot of the early dinosaurs, which was super cool. There were species of dinosaurs that definitely did have feathers. I don't know if all of them had feathers. I'm sure there were some that were similar to like a modern day crocodile, but like the raptors, that family, I feel like all of them were probably feathered, since we've found fossils that have little notches where feather barbs would go into. So dinosaurs definitely did have feathers. So my favorite dinosaur is the Brontosaurus, primarily because of Littlefoot from The Land Before Time. And that Brontosaurus means thunder lizard, and that's arguably the coolest name of all time. I don't really care if people out there are going to be like, well, technically it's an Apatosaurus. Nah, it's a Brontosaurus. Look it up. I'm recording this a little bit past my bedtime, so I can't really think right now. Who was your favorite character from Land Before Time, and what's your favorite dinosaur? Thanks so much for making it to the end of the video. Make sure to leave a like and subscribe. Tune in every weekday for a new episode. You can follow me on Twitter at 90sguykev. You can follow Tom on Twitter at 90sguytom. You can follow both of us on Instagram at the 90sguys. And with that, I'll catch you tomorrow, Tom.